In the spirit of David Letterman's top 10 list, we showed our friends on social media this photo of the three guys who are in today's interview, and we asked them what are the top 10 jobs that they think we do based on these photos. Number 10, failed fluffers. Number 9, moonshiners. Number 8, operators of an illegal crematorium. Number 7, mariachi band. Number 6, grave diggers. Number 5, driveway paving repair scammers. Number 4, proctologists. Number 3, the three guys who killed the shark in the original Jaws. Number 2, best polka band ever. And the top number 1 on our top 10 list is the FBI's least wanted. Welcome to another episode of Gotta Run with Will. This is your host, Josh Pesin. Today's guests hail from the borough of the Parks, Staten Island. They are lifelong runners with connections to the Staten Island running community. They will be giving you background information about what they do both on and off the running field. One of them will be telling you the naked truth about what he does in his spare time. Sounds intriguing, huh? Very well then, let's get this show started and let's introduce today's special guests, Mr. Mark Vogt and Professor Bob Denker. Let's start with Bob. Bob, could you tell us, how was it like growing up? You know, where did you go to school?
I was born in Manhattan, and I went to school in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer the name of the school. It was Stewart Park High School, Lower East Side. And I really never got into running until later in life, probably in my, I'd say, middle 30s. And I've been running ever since. And my impetus right now for continuing to run is that I do not want to see my spouse cashing in my life insurance. That's my motivation. So when I'm running, I'm saying, you're not going to get a penny. You're not going to get a penny. That's my motivation. And that's how I got started. And that's basically, you know, and I met Mark along the way. He was president of our club. And
Staten Island club.
Incidentally, we wound up working together as background in the TV and movies.
Mm-hmm. Same question to you, Mark.
Sure.
How was it like growing up? Where did you grow up? Go to school?
I was born and raised in Staten Island, still live there. I'm one of those rare people who's probably going to live and die in the same place, but I love the borough. I went to Catholic school in Staten Island, Our Lady Star of the Sea, and then went to Monsignor Farrell High School Monsignor Farrell High School. And then I made the big move to a public college. I went to City College in New York, up here on 138th Street, which was a tremendous experience. And I was into athletics as a kid, and that's kind of all that you did as a youth there. You played baseball and hockey and things like that. But I got into running because I was a hockey player, and you needed to do a lot of running as far as training goes. And so I had that basis. And then when I started working on Wall Street, my first job, I had a buddy there who was a runner, and he said, hey, you want to do the corporate challenge? And I was like, what's the corporate challenge? So he said to me, it's this 3.5-mile race. And I stopped him there. I was like, 3.5 miles? What, are you out of your mind? He goes, I'll put you on a training program. You got it. Make a long story short, did the race. I ran it in 25 minutes, which I didn't know whether it was good or bad. And he said to me, he goes, Mark, that's a great time. This is your first race? I said, yeah, my first race ever. So he said, I got an idea. So a week later at work, he goes, I'm signing us up for the marathon. It's like, the marathon? What, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Long story short, there again. 6 months later, I'm doing the New York City Marathon. Ran a 3:27, which I was pretty proud of. And from there, it was hooked on running.
Wow.
Completely.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's funny that, Mark, you mentioned the corporate challenge. I had done that. But originally, they had something called the Wall Street Rat Race. And it was a 401k. And that's exactly what it was. You had to wear a suit,
Yes.
a tie, okay, and carry a little briefcase when you ran. The first year, it was all through Wall Street.
Right.
But then all of a sudden, the CEOs were kind of angry because they couldn't get their limos out. So they moved it over to the financial center the next couple of years. But it was a fascinating race. And the corporate challenges was amazing. they used to fly people in from Texas, from Mobile, I remember, they had ringers.
Yeah.
So they would win the races. I mean, that's how competitive it was.
It's funny you mention that because one year we made the championship round. They had 3 races. You ran 2 out of 3. And I was working for Dean Witter at the time. And we actually, by then this was a couple of years after I first started running. And we got pretty good. And this guy, Tom, again, comes up to me and he goes, we made the championship. The championship of what? So I said, he goes, the corporate challenge. So we started training. It was interesting because you didn't run it in Central Park. You ran it here on Park Avenue through Grand Central, through the building where you could drive your cars through.
Wow. And
it had a tremendous reception outside of one of the big hotels there.
Right.
And we were treated like kings. And we thought we were great. We got killed. They brought teams in from all over. But it was quite an honor to do it. So a lot of great stuff in New York City for running, for sure.
I ran the corporate challenge one year, but it was a loop in 4-mile loop in Central Park. It must have been amazing to run it up Park Avenue, especially through the parts you're talking about.
Well, right. The main corporate challenge was those loops in Central Park, the 3.5-mile loop. But to get into the championship, it was a special thing.
I see.
I had some interesting races. I did a couple of years, they had something called the backward mile.
Yes.
You had to run it. Did you ever run that?
Yes, they did.
And the guys would cheat. They'd have these little mirrors attached to the back of their heads, whatever it was, head in, and they would, and it was interesting because it's like you hurt your legs in the front. It's not the back. Usually when you run, it's the other ones that hurt.
Right.
It's a different set of muscles that you're using.
Wow.
And I guess they did away with it. It's a little dangerous.
Right.
When you're going off the curbs.
They did. It was really hard. I thought this is going to be a piece of cake, but I almost went down a couple of times. But it was for a charity too, which was a nice thing.
So how many marathons did you do?
I've done 7 New York City marathons. Okay. And I've done a couple on Staten Island within what they call 6-hour challenge races.
Right. Yeah.
So I'll tell you, interesting story on that was I hadn't done one in years, and last year or the year before, I decided to sign up for one. This guy, Mike Tobin, is the king of ultra marathons.
Right. I met him.
He had moved to Arizona for a while and he didn't like it. He came back. So he bought the race back. So I started training for it. So it's one of those things where you run this 2-mile loop and then you finish in this mini loop at the end. Say there's a half hour left because they don't want you out on the course. They want to control you. When the gun goes out at the 6 hours, you had to stop there.
I see.
So they had like these 10 posts, say 1/10 of a mile. And if you got to like this one post, you stopped there.
Yeah.
You couldn't go to the next one. So I do it and they're calculating my time. And the guy comes up to me and goes, 29.99 miles. And I go, what? He goes, yeah, if you had gone to the next post, you would have got your 30 miles. I'll give it to you. I said, no, if it's 29.99. So that's my claim to fame. I did a 6-hour race in 29.99 miles.
That must have been frustrating.
It was a little frustrating, but it gave me an impetus to come back and run it again.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with COVID, they had to cancel it.
Yeah.
So actually, I did one in November, but I did it for the New York Roadrunner Virtual Marathon, which I got my 26.2 miles in for a race that this company, Complete Race Solutions, puts on.
I know that since we're in the middle of COVID pandemic, a lot of races are being turned into either canceled or being virtual, and I know that's a challenge for a lot of the runners now.
Well, I have a side company called Complete Race Solutions. That was a shameless plug there before.
Yeah.
But we started to do virtual runs, and they were very successful at first. The first one we put on for free. We wanted to see if people were interested. And people signed up. We got like 90 people signed up. Then the next one we did for Mother's Day. We got 100 people signed up. We picked a nice charity to give some of the funds to.
Very good.
And but then we noticed by August, we did something called Hot as Blazes.
Yeah.
And we did it where it was supposed to be at this one park. You showed up at the park. You had to wear a mask and safety and everything. And the parks people kind of supervised it. But only 45 people showed up. So my partner Rob and I figured out that, you know what, people are getting a little sick of running these virtual runs. They want the real thing back.
Right.
So we were actually able to put 2 races on in November. The 6-hour race that I was telling you about, and then a race that we were supposed to do in April called the Wolf's Run, we were able to run in November. And we were only allowed to have 50 people, but we sold them out in a week because people are looking for the real thing. We had to make sure everybody wore a mask at the start. We had the temperature check there, like, any place does now. Yeah. But people were very cooperative. We couldn't have a big award ceremony afterwards. So people, we actually either mailed them or I got my bike and I delivered them to local people, which was kind of a good way of working out.
Yeah.
So, and that's the point. People want to do real racing again.
Bob, I know you mentioned the backward mile that you said that it doesn't exist anymore, right?
No, they
Now,
did away with that.
I'd like to know, you had a whole lifetime of running and running different distances. What would you say is your favorite race distance now?
Getting out of bed. That's my favorite distance. No, I headed to 10Ks.
Yeah.
The 10Ks, they don't do too many of those anymore.
Right.
It's usually a 5-miler or a 5K.
Yeah.
But the 10Ks, it's just that extra, mile and .2, whatever it was really a pain. I enjoyed running the marathons. I've done 13 New Yorks and 2 Long Islands. In fact, I started running, my first marathon was 1978. You just put your name in and you got in. See how things have changed. It's like 60,000 now.
Yeah.
There's probably about 5,000, 6,000 of those days. And one of my favorite stories I tell people is Greta White, who's a famous female marathon runner. She and I were neck and neck, and then the gun went off. Because in those days, the slow man, I'm always a slow man, and the women ran together, and they only closed off one level of the bridge.
Right.
Cars were still going. You can get to the race the last minute and get in, meaning that you can drive over the bridge and just get into the race. Now you just can't, they shut down the bridges 4 or 5 hours or 6 hours before. But that was the year that she got dysentery, went between the cars,
Remember that?
and she still beat me by over an hour and 15 minutes. Very humiliating, humbling, but you get, that's one thing about running. You realize that the person in front of you looks like they're going faster. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. Maybe in 5 miles from now, you'll be passing them. And then 5 miles after that, they'll be passing you. So you got to really run within yourself. You have to know your body.
Right.
And I think I've been running 42, 43 years now. And I'm getting tired. No, little joke. But, that's what happens. And my favorite distance, I would have to say, is really the 5K now. In fact, and there's more of those anyway.
Yeah, those seem to be the most popular distances. They seem to be more easier to manage.
My goal is to run the marathon at 100. I want to be 100 years old. And I figure that guys who are 100, 1, 2, or 3 have to go to the bathroom more than I do. So I'll probably pass them and win that age group. That's my goal.
What's your favorite distance now?
All right, so I'm a bit of a weirdo when it comes to that, more than I normally am. So my 2 favorite distances are the mile and the half marathon.
Oh, okay.
Because as though I've run marathons, as you guys have talked about, I hate the marathon, whatever it is, the wall, the pain the next week or whatever. And I found out that the half marathon was the perfect distance.
Yeah.
That's where you really come in the 10th mile, you're feeling good. You can bang out a 5K really quick and get that 13 miles done. And I've probably done maybe 40 or 50 in my lifetime because it's my favorite race. And the mile, first mile I ever ran was the Discover Card Mile. And that was part of the whole Fifth Avenue Mile race series.
Yeah.
And when I was working for Dean Witter, we owned the Discover Card. So we had our own race. And it was put on the first race of the day. So I signed up for this and I got myself in good shape. And there was a guy named Bob who was head of another department. He was a runner and he went to the University of Penn. He was on the track team. So he really gave me some good training points. And we line up at the start of the race and we see a couple of Kenyan guys who worked in the marketing department. He goes, I'm going to tell you something, Mark. Those 2 guys are going to go out like banshees. We're going to track them. And at some point, I'm going to yell, go. And we're going to go. I'm thinking, oh, my God. So anyway, so we line up. We take off. Sure as heck. Those guys take off. We're at about the half-mile mark. And I'm looking at my watch. And we're like 2:10. We're flying. But these guys are ahead of us. And he goes, go. They're going to fade. So I take off. Next thing I know, I pass them. I don't see Bob. I'm in the lead. Motorcycles are going down. Cops are like, cheering.
Yeah.
People are screaming and yelling. And I'm thinking, I'm going to win this thing, right?
Right.
So all of a sudden, I hear footsteps. I look behind, and it's this guy, Bob, from the marketing department. He blows by me right at the finish.
Not this Bob.
No, not that Bob, another Bob. And this Bob beats me, and he ran a 4:42 mile, and I ran a 4:44 mile. And you don't even realize it till you look at the clock, like how fast you actually ran that thing.
4:44.
But to this day, people still say, that guy Bob set you up, pal. He set you up.
He's your rabbit.
Because they did a nice award ceremony. And there I am with my silver chalice, and he's got the gold card and stuff like that. And I got my revenge the next year. He didn't run it, and I ran it. I wound up winning in a 5:02, which was slower.
Wow.
There wasn't as much competition in that. So those are my two favorite distances. Yeah.
Wow. A follow-up question, since you're talking about these great race times, is what was your best race performance? Was it one of those races or another race?
It was another mile, but it was years later, and I had just turned 50.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a mile in Staten Island, the St. Patrick's Day mile.
Right.
Staten Island Athletic Club puts
Right.
on, and I was involved with the years.
The Forest Avenue Mile.
Forest Avenue Mile, thank you. And I got myself in good shape, and another fellow runner, this guy Jeff, was in the lead, and I had like one chance to pass him. And I went flying by him, and I wound up with a 4:54 mile at 50 years old.
Wow.
And I was very proud of that because, I was very proud of that. And plus, Jeff was a fun rival, and it was kind of fun beating him. I used a racehorse strategy. I was way on the outside.
Yeah.
He's on the inside. He didn't see me.
Uh-huh.
And once I passed him, it was too late for him to make his move.
Yeah.
So that was probably my favorite race, I think, of all time.
Are you talking about Jeff Benjamin?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He was once a guest on this show.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah.
Great runner. Great runner.
Yeah. Bob, the same question. Could you reflect on your best race performance?
I did a 6:15. I never broke 6 minutes in a mile. And my best marathon was, I think, 4:51, 4:50 and change and stuff like that. But, that was my goal, to break 3:50. I wanted to break 4 hours, and I did it. And, that was my culmination. And from that point, you get older, you get slower, and smarter. But,
Right.
Well, it's another thing about running. When you're older, you know your body better, and it's like you know what you can do and not do. And when you're younger, you try to do too much. You don't train properly, and as you get older, I think the only problem is when you get older, you don't have a lot of fortitude to do the things you really want to do.
Bob and I were talking about this earlier. The fact that anybody can run a race.
Right.
When you think about the population of, say, New York City, what is the percentage of people who can actually go out and run a 5K?
Right.
No matter what the time, whether you run it in 16 minutes or 30 minutes, it's an amazing accomplishment because you're in such a tiny, small percentage of the population who could actually do it.
Right. And now, I want you to think about your whole running career, both of you, and how has running changed your life? You want to start with Mark?
Well, I met a lot of girls. What it was? It was just one of those things I took up on a whim at this guy's suggestion. And I found it became a way of life. The people you meet, the races that you're in, it's a social thing too.
Right.
And like you mentioned, it's great for your health. Knock wood, I've been very healthy my whole life and hope to continue. I want to run when I'm 80 years old, 90 years old. We have some great runners still in their 80s out there pounding the pavement. I think I read somewhere a guy 82 years old broke 6 minutes in the mile or something.
Yeah. And I think there was a triple-digit runner, like 100 years old, who did a marathon or something like that. Somewhere, might be Indian or something like that.
Right.
I heard something like that.
And then getting in the management part of it, being the president of the Staten Island Athletic Club for several years, and then starting our company, Complete Race Solutions, you provide a place for people, a forum where people can come and like you said, one of my favorite stories, we had a girl named Lisa, who I think you actually interviewed.
Yeah, Lisa Swan, right? Yeah.
She came because she wanted to lose weight, and she has slimmed down tremendously. Her times have improved, and she's very passionate about the sport.
Yeah.
So it can be a life-changing thing for some people too.
Bob, how has running changed your life?
First of all, as Mark mentioned, you meet a lot of people, make a lot of new friends. Your perspective on life changes also. I mean, when you're 20 or 30, you say 60 years old. I mean, can they still walk? Can they still breathe? People look different to you, as you get older.
Yeah.
They become you. You become those old people. And you get compliments from other people. Say, oh, he's still running at that age, blah, blah, blah. And it, it's really self-rewarding, the fact that you can still run and you enjoy it. There's some mornings you don't want to get up, but you still do it. My goal, believe it or not, is to run with something called the Beer Buns Marathon. It's like a 5-mile race. Mm-hmm. They have it in San Francisco when you run in the nude. Okay. We get this to another topic.
I was going to ask you that question later on in the episode,
we'll talk about
but since we're going there,
no, we're not going to go there till later. Let people hang on. Okay. But anyway, my goal is to keep running marathons, and every few years. The club is nice. They get a couple of slots. If you can't get in, and they'll get, if there's more than one person, they'll have a lottery or a raffle for it. But you can get in. Most people don't understand that the marathon is anticlimactic. It's not a hard race. It's the training. It's for doing the 16 and the 18-mile training runs. In the summer, usually it's like 85, 90 degrees. You run early in the morning, it's still hot.
Yes.
It's the training. And they think it's just the race. Oh, you survived 4 hours or 5 hours. One year, remember Bill Rogers? Most people remember Bill Rogers, one of the great American marathon runners. Remember transistor radios? I ran with a transistor radio in my hand.
Wow,
it's like,
you're dating yourself now.
Like that. And during the race, they announced on the radio that Bill Rogers ran it in 2:12 or 2:14. Remember those days when 2:12 was a respectable marathon time? I ran it in 4 hours and change, whatever it was. And I'm saying he only ran half the time that I ran. Why are they giving him all these, presents and accolades? What the heck's that all about? But that's what the whole thing is about. It's just the race is fun. And when you run the marathon, you talk to a person, you talk to the people along the race. That's what really gets you through that race. I think it's the people and the people running with you.
Yes, definitely.
The Long Island Marathon, nobody ran. I would see somebody carrying the paper and the bagels in the morning, and that's it. They ran along one of these parkways. You never saw another person except for the person in front of you or behind you.
And that was a qualifier for Boston. A lot of people would use that race instead of New York or a more populated race to qualify for Boston.
I never qualified for that.
Me neither.
Sorry.
Okay, so we were discussing how running helps us physically, but also for me, it's therapy. Okay, I want you each to tell me about maybe a traumatic experience in your life that happened recently or way in the past where running helps you cope with it.
When I was actually still an active runner, I went through a divorce. And I had kind of gotten away from hanging out with my running buddies, and friends and stuff. And, when you're out there by yourself, it's like, wow. So I used to start to go to the Sunday long runs that they used to do at Clover Lake Park. And a couple of the guys would joke, hey, welcome back. But they didn't realize what I had been going through. So I kind of broke it to them and stuff. Oh, I'm so sorry. And that was part therapy. These people would listen to you. They wouldn't judge. They said, hey, don't worry about it. We got your back. And then the running itself, whenever I feel really lousy, I go out there and do a 10-mile run and boom, the endorphins were kicking in. It felt good. I still had to deal with the experience of getting a divorce, but it was tremendous for me. And after that, I told people, forget therapy, forget all that money you're spending, take up running.
Yeah, just invest in a good pair of running shoes.
Exactly. Yeah, $100 now.
And you, Bob, any traumatic experience?
Well, yeah, it was a very traumatic experience. My wife passed away when she was 40. I had 2 young children. I had a special needs son who was, I think, 10 at the time, and my daughter was 14. And I got it in my head. In fact, my mother-in-law, her mother, said to me that, you're going to have to be in good shape to take care of these kids. And that's really going through my head is that, they're going to depend on me. And I got really, and I was like about 5, 6 years older than her at the time, to make sure I could make it through. So that was when I actually increased my running at that point in time to try and it also helped me psychologically. When you're running, you get great ideas, you get funny thoughts in your head. You sometimes when you run, I don't know if it affects other people, I will wind up a mile further than when I started thinking where I was.
Right.
You'll be running all of a sudden. How did I get here?
Yeah.
It's weird, but it's the way it affects certain runners different ways. I don't know about you or you, but
No, it benefited me in every kind of way, physically, mentally. It helped me with different things going on in my life. Definitely, I don't know, couldn't see my life without running. Mark, a year ago, a beloved friend of all of us, Bobby Guidera, he passed away while running.
Yeah, Bobby was a big loss to all of us. Bobby Guidera was in his mid-60s. He had a heart condition. And it was only something that had developed in the last couple of years. And he went through several surgeries, but his passion for running, he just couldn't quit doing it. And he had the quickest sense of humor you ever saw, right? So we'd have these Friday runs that my friend Fred Regalini would put on at Clover Lakes Park, and he would show up, and Bobby would just be the king of cracking jokes, busting your chops. But you knew it was all good-natured ribbing.
Right.
And he was like a father to a lot of the younger runners. I remember my friend Jed Marzella came to one of the runs, and another good runner, Charlie Marchese, was there. And Bobby and Charlie go back 20, 30 years, and they would, bust each other's chops.
Right.
I knew what they were doing, and for us, it was entertainment.
Yeah.
Poor Jen comes after me after the run, and she goes, "Oh my God, why were they fighting?" I was like, "No, Jen, they love each other. They're like best friends." That's how they bust each other's chops.
Nice.
And eventually, Bobby at one point busted my chops. We were doing this run, and in the summer, Bobby was famous for not wearing a shirt.
Right.
And he had a tremendous physique. He was a skinny guy, but looked great for his mid-60s. And I figured, Bobby's over there with his shirt off. I'm going to take my shirt off, right? And I wasn't in the best shape at that time. So we post the picture, and Bobby comments on Facebook. He goes, "Mark, I think it's time for a man bra." But that was Bobby's sense of humor, So he became a father figure, especially to a lot of the young girls who were new to running. He offered sage advice. His wife, Jean, a tremendous person, loving grandfather, loving father to Jackie. Just one of those things. And it was Christmas Eve. And I was down, I have a place down in New Jersey, and Fred gave me the call. They were supposed to meet at the park.
Yeah.
And he couldn't find Bobby. And Bobby apparently took off a little early. Fred was running late. And he was running his course right by the golf course, and it was time. He went down, and he passed away right on the golf course.
Wow.
And they did a tremendous thing for him on this Christmas Eve. His wife, Jean, and their family walked the course from where he had parked his car. I told them where the route was.
Right.
They walked to the spot that Bobby had passed away.
Yeah.
Had a moment of silence and walked it back.
Wow.
So they finished his run for him.
Nice.
Which,
Wow.
Well,
How touching.
oh yeah, it was tears coming. It was beautiful.
Wow.
So I miss him to this day.
Wow. We're going to shift the conversation a little bit. Since we talked about Bobby and his toplessness, okay, it's time for us to get to the naked truth
Oh boy.
of Bob's little hobby of his. I see his shirt says, "Make America Naked Again."
And my
So
socks.
I've heard that you're a nudist.
Naked again.
Could you tell? I think a lot of the audience might have waited this whole time in this episode just to hear about your nudity story. So tell us about your nudism.
Okay. I had a friend who was a runner. I knew him from work. We used to run at lunchtime. It's called lunch hours. Lunch hour, but we became lunch hours when we ran. I can say it now because you can't fire me.
Yeah.
After I retired, like 20 years now, 21 years. We'd run down to the World Trade Center. It's sad because we used to touch number 7 World Trade Center, and then we would run back. But anyway, he said, "Let's go to a beach in New Jersey." I said, "Okay, we'll go." He didn't say anything about it, and it turned out to be a nudist beach. It's called clothing optional. You don't have to take your clothes off. You can take part of your clothes off. But, the reason for going there, it's way out of the way, is because you can do that. So he didn't tell me anything about it. I got down there and I noticed what was happening. And I said, all right, it's very funny, And then I looked at the people and they seemed to be normal people. And I went back the next week and I took off my bathing suit. I didn't go too far. I'd be very careful. And then a week after, I said, let me go back again. And started playing volleyball and doing, walking around, talking to the people. 6 months later, I retired early from work at age 56.
Yeah.
I said, why would I want to work when I can come to the beach all the time?
Yeah.
Subsequent to that, I joined an organization called Clothing Optional Dinners. We went to dinner in the Buff. The wait staff had to wear clothes. That's the New York State hygiene laws. Things you don't do when you're a nudist is you don't order hot soup. You be very careful about that. You always carry a towel. You must sit down. You can't sit on a surface like that.
Okay.
I actually wrote a book.
Yeah.
It's called 121 5 Reasons to Be a Nudist.
Okay.
Some reasons to be not. And I mention all the reasons to become a nudist. I'll give you a couple. One, if the whole world was nude, we get through airport security very quickly, right?
Yeah.
Two, if you're at a wedding party and you're one of those women who get stuck with the ugly bridesmaid dresses,
Yeah.
no problem. Yeah. You know who the real best man at the wedding is.
Right.
And he can carry the rings in many different ways.
Right.
Right? There are drawbacks. One, boutonniere can be very painful, putting that one on. Second of all, dancing with the mother of the bride, and the term dancing cheek to cheek takes on other connotations. Okay? I actually went to one nude wedding. Very interesting. And the thank you card was very, very interesting. In fact, I had to show it to thousands of people. Can I see the thank you card there?
Yeah.
But and I wrote this book because there is a lot of reasons to be. I mean, it's healthy. People look at you in the eyes, because most people who are nudist. Okay, you don't know how much money they make.
Right.
You know, you don't have to worry about fancy clothes. And politically, most of them will give you the shirt off their back. You know, very, very, if they were wearing one.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Okay. Now, so far in this show, people know us as runners, but we have this secret hobby of ours where we actually make money at it. We're all background actors. Okay. And Mark, could you tell us about being a background actor? How did you start being a background actor?
Yeah, I have to thank Josh for me becoming a background actor. I remember years ago he had told me, he goes, "Oh, I'm doing this job. I'm an actor. I do these shows and stuff." And he goes, "You should do it. You'd be great." I go, "I can't act. Well, I've never had enough training." He goes, No, it's nothing like that."
Right.
So we were at his house one day. He took a couple photos of me. I sent it into this place called Casting Networks. And 2 days later, I got a call. And 3 days later, I'm on Person of Interest. I'm doing a background scene at a casino with Jim Caviezel, who they were feeding his lines to him, and we're sitting there going, "Wow, this is great." And then another week later, I get called for Boardwalk Empire, and we wound up going to Steiner Studios for a fitting.
Right.
And they put me in this amazing 1920s suit, top hat, cool cane, and the whole deal. And next thing you know, I'm on this set in Brooklyn, and it's a fake boardwalk they built. They put this huge container ships.
Yep.
Those cargo things. And in it was the set. And there was this boardwalk. And there were shops. And it was amazing. And ever since then, I mean, I work, before COVID, I worked a lot. I'd work sometimes 3 days a week, doing different roles. And again, it's background acting.
Yeah.
So much fun, though.
Yeah. I'm a background actor for well over a dozen years myself.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to get a running role on the very first episode of Boardwalk Empire, where I was an FBI trainee and I had to lead a group of other trainees in a military fashion formation run. And I was featured. It was a great experience.
Talk about running and acting. So I'm doing, at the St. George Theater, we're doing a show called Smash that was on NBC. And I'm sitting there and I'm on a break and I see there's a lot of actors in that show. And all of a sudden I look over this rail overlooking the bottom, and who's there? But Bob Denker. And I go, "Bob, what are you doing here?" He goes, "Mark, what are you doing here?" I said, "You acting?" I said, so it turned out we were both runners, had no idea we were both doing background. And we wound up meeting each other and hanging out. And then, I don't know, maybe a few months later, we did another show. And I remember we're sitting in holding, which is where when you're not shooting, you wait for them to call you out. And we're sitting there, and this fellow Jim that I knew, and Bob are there, and I am there, and I'm reading the newspaper, half listening. They're talking very, animated, this, that. And I hear Bob going, yeah, we're more a resort type group that does this. And I'm like, oh. And then Jim goes, "No, I'm definitely the beach type. I get my umbrella and my little cooler, I pop out a couple beers, and I take everything off."
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I stop and I go, "What the hell are these two talking about?" And then it hit me, and I said, "They're both nudists."
Yeah.
What are the odds of another nudist?
I know.
And it was funny. So I go, "What are you two talking about?" And
You mentioned Boardwalk Empire. Let me tell you, I mean, things that people don't realize that go on there. Martin Scorsese is the originator of the show.
Yeah, season one. Yeah.
Okay. I go to wardrobe. They give you a wardrobe. This place took place in 1910, 1915, 20s, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I have on a V-neck shirt, T-shirt, And the guy says, you can't wear a V-neck T-shirt. You have to wear like they call them today, I don't know if it's derogatory, wife beater shirt.
Yeah, right.
Okay. I said, what's the difference? I'm wearing a shirt on top of this. I'm wearing a tie. I'm wearing a vest. I'm wearing an outer coat, regular coat, and an outer coat. No one's going to see that. He says, I don't care. They wanted to make it so realistic. That's Scorsese.
Yeah.
He had a very big dollar budget there. It had to be perfect.
Yeah.
And another episode, they're giving Steve Buscemi an award, and there's a booklet that nobody could see. It was exactly what should be in that booklet, the word for word.
Right.
So those are the things that impress us. I guess every time you do a show, you learn.
I have a Scorsese story also. I'm doing Wolf of Wall Street.
Right.
And we're in the big wedding scene. Leonardo DiCaprio is getting married.
Yeah.
It was great. There were tons of people. And they did this lineup where they matched the men with the women. And that was either your wife or your girlfriend or your lover or whatever. So anyway, we get on set and we're at the wedding scene. It's an outdoor wedding. And we're sitting there. And they gave me this cool white suit, beautiful tie, and nice pair of brownish shoes. And all of a sudden, they cut. And the production assistant comes over to me and she gives me this little bag and she goes, they want you to change your socks. And I go, what? I go, yeah. The director says your socks aren't matching your suit. So there I am. I go, what do I do with these? You put them in the bag, give those, put your name on them. So there I am in the middle of the thing, changing my socks for Martin Scorsese.
Right.
So that's my little weird Martin Scorsese story.
And those outfits we wore from the 1920s, those were real deal. They were not reproductions. Those were 100-year-old outfits. So, talk about authenticity, I know all of us were fortunate to be on the same shoot at the same time, which was the Nick, okay? We have a great picture of us all together. I was an Irish explosion victim. I had shrapnel on my face, and I looked terrible, but we had fun with that. Remember that?
Yeah.
Josh, I tell you one thing. Every time you play perfect dead people and name people, you should be like the poster person for disabled and dead people, right?
I was a cadaver 2 years ago on Blue Bloods.
Well, several times you were a cadaver. You're typecast, dude.
Yes, I'm going to make a business card that says "Dead Bodies Are Us," and that's my expertise.
Let me tell you how I got into this. Okay, being a nudist, at that time they were looking for someone to play a part of a nudist resort for a movie with Nicole Kidman, which didn't get a lot of push. It was called Fur, and they said a lot of the union people didn't want to do nude parts, so they can go outside of the union. That's called non-union. You get something called a waiver. You have so-called special talent. I hate that term, So I show up, and it's supposed to be a movie about Diane Arbus, who was a famous photographer in the 50s. And I have very, very bad vision. Now I had surgery, I had cataract surgery. I have 20/20 vision now. At that time, I had very thick glasses, like -5,000 or whatever it was, but transition lenses. And the assistant director says to me, you can't wear transition lenses. It didn't take, I said, I can't see without them. He says, I don't care. He was a little bit more wordy about it. He said, you can't wear those. I said, okay. You want to ride a bike? I said, you want me to ride naked without my glasses? I don't think so. How about playing badminton? I have a problem seeing in front of me. He says, all right, tell you what, you walk with this girl and walk around the set. It's supposed to take place at this nudist resort. Just walk around. So we're walking, and I said, stay close to me, because all of a sudden I hear, the bike's going by. I said, I'm going to get killed. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going. She says to me, is that Nicole Kidman? Is that her body double? Right. And I'm looking, and I'm saying, it looks like a man. And she looks at me, she says, no, that's a tree over there. No, over there. So that was my introduction into the background work. But I was fascinated how the cameras move on wheels back and forth. I mean, you don't see those things. Right. And the takes and doing it over and over again. I have the greatest respect for an actor having to read the same lines over and over again with the same emotions. People say, oh, it's easy. It's not.
I've done a couple principal jobs. One for an independent film called Holy Waters. I'm playing a detective in a squad room, and I've got like 8 pages of dialogue. And you know, when you audition for something, you never think you're going to get it.
Yeah.
I get the role. That was the hardest thing. One of the hardest things I ever had to do was to learn the dialogue, get cued properly. And it was funny. The director was really cool because I'm kind of, I guess I'm a little stiff because it's the first time I've ever done a principal role. And he comes up to me and goes, just relax. He goes, where are you from? I said, Staten Island. He goes, think like you're you're a Staten Island detective. I said, can I ad lib? He goes, yeah, sure. Yeah. What a difference.
Wow.
Delivering the lines was so much easier because I threw on this thick accent. Yeah. Like, hey, buddy, check this out, and it was like off to the races at that point. Wow. But true acting, not background, I totally respect because it's not easy.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
On that note, I would like you guys to tell me if you could give good wishes to everybody for the new year and tell me what would they be.
I just hope we get through this year. It's taken a toll on many people. I have a son and a special needs son. He's adult. He's 41 in a residence not too far from me. And we had to take him home for the last 5 weeks because the first episode, he couldn't leave the house. He had to be quarantined. He lost 20 pounds and he wasn't very happy. And, he's with us now and it's not making us very happy having to detain him and do things like that. And it's affected people, many different ways. People luckily have experienced anyone dying in my family over the virus. But, I would hope that by the end of the year, we'll be back to somewhat normal. We'll never be normal again. Mm-hmm. Right. Because I think this has taken a toll on too many people. We'll do things differently. Yeah. So my goal is that hopefully by at least by the middle or the end of the year, I'll just go back to running with people, having normal dialogues, eating in a normal fashion or whatever that is, and hopefully, and the politics will be completely gone. Right. We'll be back, hopefully, one country. Right.
And Mark, what would your wishes be for 2021?
Yeah, I think I have a twofold wish. Again, in the theme of the show, running, I would love, like Bob said, that we could actually get back to real racing. Yeah. Again, our company, Complete Race Solutions, we're putting on a Trail Triple Crown, first race January 16th.
Not a virtual, real race.
Real races. So we're allowed to have up to 50 people as per parks. We may have to do it in waves of 25, even 10. But people are cool with
this. Is exciting. Okay.
Yeah, so the January 16th, the first race, Bloomingdale Park race, then the Valentine's Day race on Valentine's Day itself, and then a race called the Wolf Challenge that we'll do in April. So if any of our viewers are interested in running it, go to CompleteRace.com. And you know what? I think people who are runners took the advantage of, I got nothing to do. I'm working from home. I'm bored. I'm going to go out for a run. I did more mileage this year than I've done in 5 years combined, probably. Sad to say, but now I'm like back on that running thing. Right. As far as acting goes, again, last year was a dead year for everybody. Businesses were shut down. A lot of people were hurting, And hopefully that starts. There's a lot of production out there. I've actually done a Walmart commercial a couple months ago, which was a lot of fun. And as far as, we lost a great running friend, Arnold Obey. Yeah. Yes. Due to COVID directly, he was on vacation with his wife in Puerto Rico. He had some underlying conditions and he passed away. And that's when it really hit me. And I said, you know what? We do need to take precautions. We do need to look out for our elderly and people in nursing homes and those who were really susceptible to it. And I knew somebody else in the acting community who died from it. So now, hopefully, with this vaccine and people, again, taking social distancing seriously, we can, and I agree with Bob, I don't think it's ever going to be normal again. But this is the brave new world we're now living in.
Yeah. My wish for the new year is that we all try to not be as divisive as we've been over the past year and try to get along, try to understand everyone's situation. Everyone is in a different situation, and we have to be more patient and caring and loving with each other. And I hope to we all have a more normal life, especially with the vaccine that people are starting to get now. And I would like everyone to thank our special guests today, Mark Vogt and Bob Denker. I appreciate you two taking the time for today's show.
Thank you, Joe.
And Will Sanchez, of course, and the staff at Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And that's it for today's episode of Gotta Run with Will. Thank you. Okay, so
yeah.
Yeah. How are those Yankees doing?
Oh, wait, those Mets.